Hey guys, welcome to my research toolkit. When I first got the assignment I thought it was a bit vague, but later learning on I have realised that it was vague on purpose. I have built a better understanding of everything and it feels like I've put it in my own words. So hopefully the way I've put it is a way that you can understand. So how have I done it? I've separated my way of doing things into 4 key sections. So the first section is titled Legal Theories and Terminologies. That's just where I cover basically rule of law. In there's a few diagrams. There is a rule of law pyramid just dictating which parts of the hierarchy sit where. Common law, just briefly touching on that, a bit of history on that one, dating back to King Henry, and then just also adapting it, showing how it's evident in modern day law and how it shapes the way we see legislation. The Constitution, obviously the supreme overlord of law. It's obviously created as the foundation and we've just built upon that. Obviously it's still evident in today's society, but it was a lot more evident back then. Nowadays we have adapted to modern technologies, just to different opinions that obviously weren't present back in those days. Touching on the doctrine of precedent, so that's including ratio decidendi and obiter dicta, or obiter dicta, depending on how you want to say it. So then moving on, we've got the next section, the legal problem solving process. So in this I've used the IRAC method. I know this wasn't covered in modules 2 or 3 of the Intro to Law course, but I did feel that it was relevant in my way of expressing how I learn, as this is essentially how I would take on a problem-solving method. Moving on then, we have statutory interpretation. So this encompasses 2 different types of rules, the literal rule and the golden rule, also known as the British rule. Obviously that's not evident in Australia, but I thought it was still relevant to have as part of the assignment. And then just touching on the purposive approach. Then in the third section we've got researching laws and cases. So that's just touching on finding cases, reading a case title. So I've definitely touched on breaking down a case title citation, just because that's something I wish I'd been told a lot earlier on in the course, rather than in week 7. And then also finding and reading legislation. So just breaking down what it means, taking the big chunks of words and breaking it down into a simplified term, which pretty much has the same meaning without means of interpretation. And then finally we've just got a title I have, Getting Your Point Across. So that's essentially just like a personal note that I've put in about how I like to progress throughout an argument, how I like to state what I'm trying to say to someone. So that's actually not cited from any websites, that's just a personal note from me about how I like to write an assignment, how I like to write an argument, and how I would like to read an argument if it was presented to me. So that's essentially my legal research toolkit. It's obviously not as vast as you could have it, as I honestly don't believe that anyone has the time to fit in the whole legal process and all the different ways of doing things. But I've definitely portrayed a few strategies and a few ways that I like to do things. So yeah, I hope you can understand it. I hope you enjoy it. Cheers.